Hello, 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 everybody. It's your girl, Ashley, the amateur expert, coming to you live today for this episode of Talk Tuesday. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We talk about people's career path, their idea of success, and the tips and motivators that they use along the way. I am super excited for today's guest. I met her about 2 years ago now, and she's got a wild story, and not wild like crazy, but just like cool. And so she's actually here with us, so we are going to invite her in, and we are going to get started. Oh, yeah, started. I love when technology works the way it's supposed to work. Do it. Oh, here we go. Happy Tuesday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello
Hello.
there.
Hi.
How are you? Happy Talk Tuesday.
Happy Talk Tuesday. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
Um, Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you are doing currently for work?
Okay. My name is Tekeilla Darden. Yes, you heard that right. Tekeilla. I am a licensed psychologist. Um, that's what I do. I own my own practice. I partner with a larger practice. So I'm a part of two practices, and I'm a writer, and I write books. So that's pretty much what I do.
And if I was thirsty and I wanted something to drink, maybe I could potentially drink some tea.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ashley, for putting me on. Yes, my tea. I do have a tea line too. I don't know why I forget about that, but I do have a tea line that is centered around mental health.
I love that. Okay, so tell me this, Tequila, when you grew up, or when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? And sort of like, what was the motivating factor behind that?
Growing up, it's funny. I always wanted to be an actress. And it's
Hmm.
because other people would say, you're funny, you need to be on the screen, you talk a lot, you're very, very dramatic. And I'm all of those things. And so I wanted to be an actress. And funny enough, I started that career path first.
Hmm.
And might have been in a few things that I will not ever mention because I'm too embarrassed to talk about. But I'm sure if you Googled, you can probably find some things.
I love that. Okay. And so what did you think success was when you were younger? Like, how would you have defined it for yourself?
It's funny because success, like in elementary, grade school, high
Hmm.
school, it was always, what do you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years? Like write out your 5 to 10 year goals. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
remember thinking that success then, as long as I made some money with zeros, like lots of zeros, that
We
was
need all the
success.
zeros. Yes.
All the zeros. If I was known to others, that was
Hmm.
successful.
Yeah.
Um, and if I could just make people happy, that was
Mm.
success to me. I didn't know, even though I wanted to be an actress. Actually, I'll take that back. Yes, I wanted to be an actress, but I broadened that to be an entertainer because I also wanted to do broadcast journalism.
Ooh.
So as long as I was in entertainment, that
Yep, yep,
was
yep.
success for me.
Okay, I love that. So I love the fact that you said you wanted to be an actress and then you dabbled in it a little bit, but then we made this pivot. So can you sort of give us the journey? So what did you do? How did you become an actress? And then when did you decide to pivot? What was that? What does that look like for you?
Oh gosh. Okay, so acting was always a thing for me. I remember when I was 13, 14 years old, I got a really big role in a movie, like a big role. I was excited. It was a karate movie. I was a huge karate fan.
Okay, okay.
Huge action. I was so excited. Big producer, and we were training for the movie, for the film. And me and my mom, we told everybody, "Oh, she's gonna be in this big movie." And the director ended up having a death in the family, like his daughter.
Oh,
Like, yeah, it was a pretty tragic. And so he ended up going. He was from China. He went back to his home and scrapped the project. So imagine me, 14
mm-hmm,
years old, bragging to everybody,
mm-hmm,
I'm going to be in a big movie, and then
mm-hmm,
turning around and saying, actually, that's not going to happen.
mm-hmm.
Um, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And so I kept quiet on that. Like, I didn't really want to mention anything about acting. I
Mm-hmm.
still had the bug for acting, but then I think I went into modeling and some things like that. When
Mm-hmm.
I was in college, I pivoted just a little bit and I did broadcast journalism because I was like, I still want
Okay.
to be on the screen, still want to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
So I was a part of the news team at school, and I interned at a major, I don't know if I can, I guess I can say Fox Sports Radio. I interned at Fox Sports Radio.
Nice.
And I was on the radio as an intern. I was really excited because all my dreams are coming true.
Mm-hmm.
And then remember when I said part of my success was the shmoney part, like the zeros.
Yeah, the zeros. We need them.
When I was in broadcast journalism and I was going to make my next move, they were like, well, you have to start off in XYZ market. And this was how much you were going to be making.
Mm.
I made more than that as an intern. Like I was like,
I don't understand.
oh, this ain't it. No. No. So I scrapped that. It just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
I took some classes in counseling
Mm-hmm.
and in psychology. Actually, I took some classes in psychology, and I was like, you know what, this acting thing isn't working for me. I graduated from my bachelor's, and I did that for about 3 years trying to land roles. I landed some small parts here and there. Remember, I said things I'm not really going to talk about.
We're gonna Google. It's okay. We're gonna find it out.
And so I landed some small roles, nothing major. And then 3 years later, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to school. I really like psychology. A brand new field was emerging within psychology, and it was called media psychology.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, oh, this is really exciting. Let me go into and see what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my master's in that, and then I really, really fell in love with psychology. And I realized that I can still inspire people, help people, and entertain people in a way in that lane.
Yeah, so just real quick, sorry to interrupt. What is media psychology for those of us that don't know?
So media psychology is taking the principles of psychology, studying the human mind with media, and just kind of really trying to understand how media has an impact on the human mind.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And so so it was created. So it was taking that media, that entertainment that I really loved, and then psychology and putting them together.
Mm-hmm.
And in that program, I really fell in love with psychology, and I was like, I can actually do this. Mm-hmm. Then I met and fell in love with someone, and we moved from California. So it took me away from the entertainment world because it was easy in California. You're in LA. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, you can get to the auditions. And I ended up coming to Texas. And that field isn't huge here. I mean, I guess there is, but you really have to go places and drive. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to pursue psychology, a PhD. And again, it took me another 3 years to realize this. I was out here in Texas, and I was twiddling my fingers, and I was like, you know what, I need to do something. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go into psychology. But at that point in time, they ended up getting rid of the specialty, the media psychology.
Okay.
Also, if you wanted to work in psychology, you had to have a PhD. Like out here, there wasn't I couldn't do anything with my master's. I was like, I did all of this, got my master's, I couldn't do anything with it. So I ended up going back for my doctorate degree. So I'll stop there if you have another question, because I can talk a lot.
No, it's okay. I love the journey. I'm like, okay, and then? No, okay. So as you were getting your PhD, you weren't able to work in the field, or what did that look like?
No.
Just straight school.
Straight. So this was strange for me because I always had my own money. I always was able to do my own things. And then I got married and went into this program. Now, if you know anything about a PhD program, you're not getting anything in your intern phase, any of those things. So I went 4 years, 3.5 to 4 years without being able to make anything. I had a part-time job, but then when you get into your internship and you have to start your clinical hours, you can't work.
Yeah, right.
Well, in my case, I couldn't because I wanted to graduate. I was like, I'm not going to be up in here forever. So for the first time in life, I had to really depend on and lean on my husband. And so I wasn't making any income. And so I did, and no one told me I was going to be working for 5,000 hours and not making anything. So I worked for did that for about 2.5 years after my PhD program. and then ended up really, no, okay, I have to go back just a little bit, because in my program, I ended up falling in love with psychology. But when I got into the program, there were other people around me in the program, and they would sit around and all of them would talk about why they were there.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, remember, one of my things, success is money, right? So
Yeah.
psychology, I'm like, oh, they make some money.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everybody's sitting, they all have this story, like this really impactful story. Their mother was diagnosed with bipolar,
Mm.
brother had schizophrenia, child had ADHD or was on the spectrum. And
Mm-hmm.
so and then they get to me and I'm like, oh, well, I like to be in people's business and I want to make some money. I didn't say that. I'm
Right.
sure I probably came up with something lame to not feel so out of place. But I remember
Right.
feeling completely out of place in my program, and that's going to
Mm.
be important for my here and now, because I didn't have now. Yes, I have some family members. Not, my family isn't perfect, but there wasn't anyone that had been directly diagnosed with anything that drove me into
Mm-hmm.
this field. Again, my
Right.
my whole goal was I just want to be able to sit in front of people. And another thing that I love to do is I love to hear people's stories. I really
Mm-hmm.
love to hear people's stories. I wanted to be able to tell stories or hear people's stories, or
Yeah.
both. And so that was through the program. Then when I was going through my training, I realized how much, yes, I'm in a program where therapy and assessments is when you're doing clinical assessment, psychological assessment, and then therapy when you're doing, one-on-one talk. Um, when I started doing therapy, I was like, man, I really, really like this. Like, I was shocked that I liked it so much. Again, I like being in people's business.
Yeah.
Um, so I really liked it, and I really found that I could help people.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say, and I skipped over this, my mother is also a counselor.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be. I didn't want anything to do with counseling, therapy, nothing. Because everyone kept saying, you're just like your mother.
Mm.
And I didn't care for that too much. I love my mom, but I care for that. So I ran away from all of
For
these things that
sure.
people said I was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
tired of doing the things that people said I was good at. Acting. Everyone said, you're so good at it, but I wasn't getting anywhere with it. You're so good with helping people. You should be a therapist. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. My mom's doing counseling. I don't want to do that. But I really fell in love with it. And so that leads me here today.
I love that. And so, um, how did you, okay, no, before I ask you that, how would you define success today?
Success today. It's funny because for me, I don't have a definition because it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that I know what success, the foundation of success for me is. The
Mm-hmm.
foundation is that that there's abundance and health in every quadrant in me and my family's lives and all of my loved ones in our lives. The other piece of that foundation is that my faith is strong, and then and that I am able to feel and emote happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So that is success for me. And so it doesn't matter what I'm doing,
Yeah.
that is success. And the reason why that's really important for me is because, like my career path, I feel like, well, I'm multifaceted in that I don't want to just be defined as one thing. I have a Tline. I
Yeah.
write books. I'm a psychologist. I'm a successfully failed actress. Yes, I'm gonna claim that.
I wouldn't say failed. No, you're a successful actress.
No,
You
but
did it.
yes, I did all of the things, and who knows? People are going back into the world, and people are acting on Instagram and YouTube and all these other different places, and so um, not to say that won't ever come back full circle, but I like to believe that success, like all these other things, is evolving for me in whatever time and space I'm in.
I love that. And I was going to ask you, so at what point did you decide that you wanted to either start your own practice or then like you're become an author and the tea, like how did you I think a lot of us are multifaceted, but we sort of stay in a lane. So how did you know that you can sort of like switch lanes?
Oh, good question. So I've always done, so I've been writing since I was in high school. Released and published my first book, I think in 2009 or 10. I have several books, several that have been unpublished. Absolutely enjoyed my dissertation phase. Anybody else in my PhD program would tell you how much they dreaded that, and I actually loved it. So I love writing. And I remember meeting two psychologists. One, Dr. Litamendi, she has a podcast that was on the psychology of Batman, she and her husband.
Mm.
And I remember, I don't know if you can see, there's Batman behind me. So
I see Batman.
and I started listening, and I was like, you can do that? You can do that as a psychologist? You can completely be, you can talk about other things and you could do other things. And her love of Batman and the Marvel universe and things like that got her a role, if you will. So she ended up being Harley Quinn's psychologist,
Oh wow.
and was written as like Harley Quinn psychologist in
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
of the books. And I was like, you can do that.
Yeah.
And I had another a professor. She had her own private practice. She was the first first psychologist partner in a major hospital system.
Wow.
And then she was also a pizza maker. And I was like, you can do all those things. And I remember thinking that I haven't really met too many psychologists who were just doing one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I loved that. So when you say, how do you have that confidence? That is what attracted me to this field.
Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your question?
You did. And so I read in your bio, you said you started the Tline for a very specific reason. Can you share that with us?
I can. So prior to the pandemic, one of the ways I would like to connect and teach coping skills with some of my people, I call them my people, patients or clients, but I call them my people. One way I would connect and teach coping skills was by having some tea in the office and helping them utilize tea as one way to help with certain symptoms, such as some anxious symptoms or maybe even some depressive symptoms. And so we would just sit there and drink some tea. And when the pandemic happened, I went, like many others, so I do telehealth now. So I'm full
Mm-hmm.
telehealth. I don't really leave the house. But I really missed that one-on-one piece. And
Mm-hmm.
so from that was birthed my Tline. I had this blog that was called Tea and Therapy. And I never really did anything with it. I wanted to highlight the different teas that you can utilize to help with
Mm-hmm.
certain symptoms. And I remember talking to my husband about, I wish I could do X, Y, and Z. And he was like, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then that birthed my Tline. It's called TN, shortened from Tea and Therapy. And I have 3 teas right now, focusing on helping with anxiety, with stress, and certain depressive symptoms. So I have three different teas right now.
I love that. You have to share the Instagram handle and the website so that we can tap in and support you in that.
Yeah.
Um, Someone in the chat wrote, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old that thought she wanted to do psychology and then was discouraged by a high school AP psych class?
Oh, good question. I will say this: one class does not make a whole, meaning that her whole experience is not going to be based off of that one class. And I understand being discouraged because you have someone who is not able to express or not able to model what this field is really about. Now, I met several, sadly enough. But I remember throughout my program, actually, and I do it now, I collect mentors. I collect them. I love them. You asked a question earlier that I want to get back to about the private practice.
Mm-hmm.
How I didn't know anything about being in a private practice. We didn't learn the business side of things. And I had one mentor said, oh, so when you're done here, you're going to open your own private practice. I was actually interning for him. And I'm like, what? He's like, no, you're opening up your private practice. And so every mentor I had talked about the business side of that. So I was collecting. So I actually had to seek out people. And so for your daughter, have her seek out people in the field that can give her a different experience. There are going to be courses that are going to be hard and teachers that are going to be hard and discouraging. There are going to be, and I'll be honest with you. I opened up and I briefly mentioned that, you know, I felt out of place. And even in my cohort, because all these people, the reason why they were driven to psychology wasn't why I was there. And so I kind of had to find my own lane. And your daughters just will have to do that too. I had professors who were so hard on me, and they didn't actually say this field is not for you, but they would come down on me and I'd be like, well, dang. They'd be like, well, that's unethical, you know? And I'd be like, well, it was a question, right? We're here to learn. And I truly believe that as long as you're a student, it's okay to be learning. And to find the best environment for you to learn. So if she really wants to be a psychologist and do this field, I would say keep going and finding and seeking out mentorship.
That's good. So tell me this, what is something that you know now that you wish you would have known earlier in your career?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wish I would have known. I honestly wish I would have known the business side of it. And I also wish I would have known that what I was learning in school is not necessarily practical for real world. And I'll expand on that a little bit too. And this might actually help the person who was asking about their daughter. I learned from a very formal program, meaning that it was very kind of black and white, which a lot of school programs are. And I remember social media being like a no-no, an absolute, do not put yourself on social media. Your patients are not supposed to be finding you. You're not supposed to be engaging with them outside of sessions. And that's so unethical and all of the things. And so even now my social media presence is very weak, if you will. And it's because I'm unlearning. I'm still unlearning some of those things. And so I wish I would have known then not to be so scared to put myself out there like I do now. Like social media is not anything to be scared of. And I'm just now unlearning that.
That's good. What are some of the tips and motivators that you use to keep you going?
Tips
I
and
like
motivators.
I like to say that I like the fact that you said that you collect mentors, because I feel like I've done that as well. But a lot of my mentors have been just like from a distance, right? So it's like I really like what they're doing or their career path, and I've sort of just like watched them and try to learn their habits and things that they've done. But I'm wondering, beyond collecting mentors, what else have you done to sort of like keep you motivated?
I practice a lot of what I'm sharing with people. It's funny, another thing that they highly stressed in school but didn't allow us any time for was self-care. And so I remember going out like, how are y'all stressing self-care and we don't get a break? We're working 9 to 5 and after that we're studying. And so I remember thinking that I need to figure out what this is for me. So one thing that I really do is I take my breaks. I'm 120% and all of the above. That's one thing that won't change. So every quarter I'm taking a good break away. And I need that. I need that for my own mental so then I can turn around and continue to pour back into others.
That's great. And then you said there was something that you wanted to circle back on in regards to the private practice. Did it, do you remember?
Probably not, but that's okay. Private practice. Well, you were talking about collecting mentors, and I remember we didn't learn an ounce of business. And so me going into private practice is nothing that I ever really thought I would be able to achieve or do. And I just fell into it at the start of the pandemic because I was partnering with a large community-based center out where I'm at. But I ended up just kind of opening my own. It was just kind of like an easy transition. And so I'm still with them and then I have my own.
I love that. Okay. So, I want to give you an opportunity to share how we can support you and share any projects you have coming up or anything that how can we keep up with you? So I'm giving this opportunity now to let us know handles, websites, all of the things.
What are my handles? No, you can follow me here, Dr. Tekeilla. I've tried to make it streamlined. So my website is drtekeilla.com. On drtekeilla.com, you'll be able to find all of the other things. So I have, so any books that are upcoming, I do have a book that's coming up. I am a part of Anthology. It will be released next month. I don't think I can say who it's with just yet, but I'm really, really excited. It's someone that I admire and look up to. And so I have a chapter in there, and I'm actually talking about me and something that I don't normally do. A lot of people don't know that I too can have some things, and I couldn't even define it for myself until recently. And so you'll be able to find out what that is in my chapter of this book. So follow me on Instagram. We'll be releasing that soon. And my Tline is shoptn.com. That's shoptean.com. And my teas are there. We actually launched earlier this year, so I'm excited about that. And we'll be doing some, we're going through a branding development, some more of that. So I'm really excited about things to come for that. And I'm a writer. And so I already talked about my book, but I also do writing retreats and ghostwriting. And I actually call it therapeutic ghostwriting. So I do write for others I use my therapeutic skills to help other people articulate the things that they want to be able to, whether that's fiction or nonfiction, whatever it is that they want to do. So I also offer that service too.
I love it, and I am signing up for that one very soon. Book
Right.
coming to a bookstore near you, or like an Amazon. In any case, I'm super excited for your rebranding and all the things that you have coming up. As you know, I am not just the host of the podcast, I also have a clothing line, Affirmed Armor. And so I would love to ask you, what is your go-to affirmation?
Ooh, there are two that I go to, and they're very, very simple. One is breathe. Just breathe. Like, that one has got me through some things, like breathing. And then the other one is you got this. Whatever this is. And I know those sound very elementary, if you will. But for me, when I'm needing to affirm myself, it's just a quick little reminder of you got this, or breathe, to be able to refocus and reshift and stay present.
I love that. And those are perfect. And I think I probably use those as well because they are helpful. Okay, so I am the amateur expert, and I know just a little bit about a lot. And so I'd love for you to share something with me that I can say that Dr. Tekeilla taught me.
You know what? And I've watched you before, and I've not watched you ask that question, and I don't know why I didn't come first. But I will say, I don't know. This is funny because I used to I used to think this was taboo because of the profession that I'm in, and that is saying this is crazy, or you're crazy, or I used to think that word was off limits for me because apparently the things that I say hold weight, especially when it comes around mental health because of what I do. And so I strayed away from that word. But sometimes I feel like we put too many restrictions on words, and we aren't able to get things out in the way that we need to. And so for me, it's me just saying to you, it's okay to say crazy. So we're not boxing ourselves in. Like sometimes I just want to be like, that's crazy.
That's because it is sometimes.
Right. And I know that again, it might seem elementary, but for me, that was so liberating to be able just to be like, you know what? No, that's crazy. No, she's crazy. Like, and not someone think that I'm diagnosing them.
Yes. No, that's good. And I thank you for sharing that. It was a pleasure having you on today and to learn more about you. It's been a while since we've been able to connect and to catch up. So I'm happy that we were able to do this in this form, and can't wait to do so again offline. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
real.
much. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in. I hope that you do support Tekeilla and her teas and all the things that she's got going on. And we will see you next week. In the
All
meantime,
right.
be good to yourself and be good to others. Thank
Bye.
you.